Hey, sorry I'm late. There was a hipster jackknifed on the Santa Ana. God-awful mess. They found soft releases and RZ67 parts all over the road. But don't you worry, I got around it, and now I'm here bringing you premium content for free. Well, hello, my friends and family. It's been a while since I've been here on this channel, and I did zero preparation for this post. This film just dawned on me off the top of my head. We're eventually going to talk about this behemoth of a book, which is a book that is going to catch you completely by surprise. And by the way, I left all of this on just to annoy all the people that always ask me why I'm wearing a jacket inside. Just because I almost wore my gloves just to send those folks over the top, but I was in a giving mood, a caring mood. It is the Christmas season, if I'm not mistaken. So, this is a post about a book I love, but it also incorporates one question from Q&A, which I have not done in a Q&A, but I'm going to start this film with a question because it sets the tone for the entire thing, including the Perfect Imperfect book. I just hit myself in the face with it. Yeah, you saw that correctly. By John Dolan, which we're going to get to in a minute. I got a question. Someone said, why are you always bagging on wedding photographers? And I kind of felt bad, just for a second. Not long, but I felt bad for a second. Because there's really no point on bagging on people, except for hipsters, and except for a few others. But wedding photographers did not deserve my wrath. But the simple answer is, I bag on wedding photographers because I was a wedding photographer. I can do that. You can do it. If you've done something, if you've been something, I was a fragrance model at the mall in probably 1986. I can bag on those people all day long because I did that job. And yes, I'm embarrassed about it. I lasted 2 days, and frankly, I was pretty happy I didn't get killed. This was in Texas, in a mall. If you jump out, let me just give you a little playback of what this was like. My sister talked me into doing this. I had to wear a tuxedo. I would go to the mall. They would give me the fragrance of the day. I'm not making this up. Then my job was to wait inside the doors of like that perfume section, cologne section, for unsuspecting men to come walking into the mall. And then my job was to jump out and spray them with this stuff before they could say no. Now, if you're looking for a good way, at the minimum, to get your ass kicked, that's a great job. And number two, if you're looking to get killed, that's also something that you may want to look into, because the fact that I survived 2 days was a miracle. I could see the writing on the wall. So let's go back. The question is, why do you bag on wedding photographers? My answer is because I was a wedding photographer, so I can bag on them because I did it. And I did it for approximately 5 years, 6 years. But let me tell you the backstory and why this is actually not a film about a book, even though it kind of is. It's a film about perception. Perception is incredibly important in photography. Can be. Someone just walked by on a horse. That's what happens here in New Mexico. So, 2 people on horses. Nice. Don't know what kind of horse. 4 legs, hairy. You know, that kind. Let's flash back. I have a degree in photojournalism. Think wearing all black except for today. Scarves, standing around at parties, smoking cigarettes, acting moody, that kind of thing. That's what I studied. When I got into photography and I studied photojournalism and I got out, and all my peers and all my friends and all my colleagues and all my heroes were in the documentary, reportage, magazine, editorial world, if you threw the term wedding photographer in the mix, you were considered a complete loser. Wedding photography was what you did if you weren't good enough to do anything else. That was the perception in the industry. I'm not saying that's true. That's sort of what the circles that I came from. I came from photojournalism. Concerned photography. I'm concerned about my career. That's for sure. Fast forward until 1997. I've been working as a photographer full-time for 5 years. I quit the first time, 1997, I quit. I work for Kodak Professional Commercial Division. Kodak Professional Commercial. The Kodak Professional is divided into 2 sides: commercial, portrait wedding. Now, this was the first time I ever heard the term portrait weenie, which was a derogatory term aimed at portrait photographers. So again, I'm on the commercial side. Advertising, commercial, editorial, fashion, automotive, stock. That's the side I'm on. I'm not on portraits. I'm not on weddings. However, at the time, quite a bit of crossover in the industry. Some events had photographers from both sides. My commercial photographers look down on portrait wedding photographers. Really, they don't even think about portrait wedding photographers. It's a different industry. The blue guy in the blue ruffle tux hitting on the bridesmaids. That's their mindset about wedding photography. So all of a sudden, I'm like getting a little crossover here, and I'm starting to meet some of these wedding people, and I'm like, there's something bizarre happening here. My perception of who they are, what they do, is off. Very well organized, very profitable, good business people. And in fact, I'm looking across the aisle at Portrait Wedding, and I'm saying to myself, you commercial clowns could be learning a lot from the people on the Portrait Wedding side, because they are more organized, they're better business people. They're consistently making more money, and they don't have massive egos and like insecurities, and they're not hypocritical and combative and hard to work with. So I was like gaining an appreciation for the wedding side. 1997 rolls around. I'm working for Kodak Professional Commercial. I'm putting out the vibe, and Kodak calls me and says, hey, we sponsor the Santa Fe photographic workshops. If you want, you can take a class for free. My boss called me and told me that. Now, he was amazing jokester, hipster guy. He would probably literally have put me on a plane, even if there was no workshop, just to see if I would get on the plane. I thought he was kidding. He said, no, I'm not kidding. We sponsor the workshops, and no one has signed up. You're more than welcome to take a class. So I do. I sign up for a class. I come to Santa Fe. The whole time I'm looking over my shoulder like they're going to punk me. I get out here, get in the workshop. There's another student in the class, believe it or not, who I don't know. We become friends. She's a photographer out of Phoenix. She looks at my portfolio in that class in 1997 and says something along the lines of, do you realize how much money you could make as a wedding photographer with that portfolio? Now, this portfolio was 35 millimeter black and white Leica reportage of like the border, the adult entertainment industry, religion in Europe. There was like nothing to do with weddings. And I told her, I said, you're out of your mind. There's no possible way. And she goes, yes way, I'll help you do it. I'll share my wedding contract and I'll teach you how to connect with these clients and book these jobs. So I'm thinking, no way. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I should try this. So I put together my little scenario, my little legal contracts and my pricing, and I go out. The very first client I meet with, I book a job for more money than I've ever made in photography in my life. And I was like, holy cow. And I said to her, there's no possible way that someone is going to let me spend that much money and let me shoot a wedding with a Leica, an M6, and a 35. There's no way, in a bag of Tri-X. And she goes, yeah, they will. And they did, and I did. And that's how I became a wedding photographer. My perception was completely and utterly off at the beginning. And again, my fault. And I think there's a lot of people who look at portrait wedding photographers and they go, well, you shoot portrait weddings, you must not be that good at anything else. That is not the case. There are photographers in that space that are really good photographers. Not to mention, and here's another little insult to the commercial folks out there, the first people that I saw really solve building an online community were not fashion photographers, they were not commercial photographers, they were not editorial photographers, they were wedding photographers. The first people that I saw build online communities, the first people I saw with paywalls to get access to the online community, the first people pre-social to build legitimate audiences were wedding photographers, not commercial. Damn it. Time to get serious. You thought this was me saying, I've become one with the circle of life. No, not really. Not at all. I am as angst-filled today. That is a glasses holder that my wife makes. I'm as angry today as I ever have been. And if you think this rant is a rant, I'm just getting warmed up. So let's circle back here. Huh? See how I tied that in? I'm just going to take that off so you can see it. Let's circle back to the idea of perception. Wedding photographers. Now, here's the thing. When I became a wedding photographer, and this is going to be a long post, but it's important. This part is critical. If you ignore the first part, fine. Don't ignore the book. It's John Dolan's book. It's very good. I'll get to it. Perception. When I become a wedding photographer, I suddenly transfer out of the commercial side of photography into portrait wedding. But at the same time, I'm still trying to do documentary work. The goal, and what I ended up doing, was 10 weddings a year maximum, take all the proceeds from that, and go fund my own documentary projects so that I wouldn't have to work with a bunch of wacko editors in New York and fickle editors in LA and photo editors that couldn't find Cambodia on a map, those kind of people. I didn't want to work with them anymore. I wanted to do my own stories at my own pace and my own style, and I was going to take the wedding money and do that. It's like a drug dealer, just weddings, not drugs. Took the proceeds, big fat stacks of cheddar, put it into the documentary projects and went out there. But because I'm me, and I'm a little disturbed, if you haven't noticed, I couldn't let it be. So I get a call one day from a photographer, a very good photographer who's way better than me, and he shoots everything, editorial, commercial, advertising, amazing dude. I actually took a class from him once. He calls me and says, hey, there's a job I'm up for in Mexico. I can't do it. You're perfect for it. But if the client catches wind that you shoot weddings, it's done. Done, over. They'll discredit you immediately, say you're a clown, and you can't do that. And I'm like, well, that's idiotic. He goes, you know that, I know that. Client doesn't know that. So you've got to split your websites. You have to take your websites, make 2 separate websites, and only show the doc work to the people that you're going to do doc work with, and vice versa. And I'm like, that's dumb, but I totally get it, and that's what I did. The other thing I did is I went to New York, and because I'm perverse in this way, I go to New York to a massive photo event. And I'm kind of standing around, again, putting out the vibe. I'm bored at these events. Again, a lot of people in scarves, posing, moody, Marlboro Reds, Pall Malls with the filter torn off, that kind of thing. And I'm in a circle. I'm with an agent, a rep. She's an agent. She's a rep. She's a friend. She doesn't rep me. We just talk about business stuff. And all of a sudden, we're surrounded by this gaggle. It's a squadron of photographers who I don't know. She knows them all. They're commercial advertising. They're bigwigs. I'm the low person on the totem pole. Now, we start making introductions in a circle. What I could have done is said, I'm a documentary photographer, but no, that's not good enough for me. That's not perverted enough for me. So just to see what happens, we make our circle. Everybody makes their introduction. Hi, I'm so-and-so. I shoot the Pirelli calendar, that kind of thing. It comes to me. I go, hi, I'm a wedding photographer. It was like I pulled the pin on a hot grenade and just tossed it in the middle. These people scattered like you cannot believe. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. The agent looks at me and goes, why did you do that? Why did you say that? Don't introduce yourself as a wedding photographer. I go, I am a wedding photographer. I'm not embarrassed by it. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm not defining my life by the fact I shoot weddings, but that's what I did. The whole thing is perverse. It's ridiculous. The moral of this story and the point of the story is perception is real, even when it's not. So it's something that you have to battle against. How you look, how you speak, the languages you speak, how you behave, all of those things add together to create a perception of who you are and what you do. There is an upside to this and there is a downside. And perception of creativity is one of the most important things you can possibly get your melon around. You are a creative member of society, so you better start acting like it. And that comes with responsibility. It's not something that you abuse. You don't go out and wear a scarf and smoke cigs and act like a word I can't use on YouTube or they'll censor me and I won't be making all this massive cash anymore. But you know what I mean? It's the perception thing. Just be cool. And if you shoot weddings, fine, own it. And the guy that I'm going to talk about and the book I'm going to talk about, and it's a book you're going to be surprised I'm recommending. But if you're looking for a book that redefines perception of what a certain kind of photography is and what it can be, and also just a damn smart book to begin with, then you better put your big boy pants on because I'm about to get to the book. Yeah, I told you I was going to get to the damn book. Just keep your shirt on, okay? I'm juggling stuff here. This is not even the top-down portion of the evening. The top-down portion of the evening is like the gown portion from the old, the old beauty pageants of the 1970s that we would watch on our black and white TV in Indiana. So just calm down. Credit where credit is due. We are talking about a book. A book is a team effort. This was a book of photography by John Dolan, who oddly enough is a photographer. It was published by Damiani in 2021. Great publisher. There are 2 essays in this book, and this is a huge part of the book. Before I get to the top down, like I said, give credit where credit is due. You always credit the publisher. You always credit the designer, who I'm going to get to in a minute. but she happens to be one of my favorite people that I've met in the photo designed, book designing world. I mean, I could go on, I could do just a post about her. I don't even know her that well. This book has 2 essays in it. If you're going to put a book into the world, one of the things that's always been a good hook for people is to have someone of importance write the foreword, or write an essay, or write a dedication or something that has their name on it. Now, Mr. Dolan did not mess around, because the foreword of the book was written by Martha Stewart. Maybe you've heard of her. I had an encounter with Martha Stewart in a coffee shop in Palm Springs. That's another story that I'm not going to share today. So yeah, I kind of know her. We're kind of buds. Not really, not at all. I never spoke to her, just encountered her. Anyway, the foreword of the book is written by Martha Stewart. There's also an essay in here by Sylvia Plahe. And for those and by the way, I could easily be pronouncing that wrong. And if I am, I have been pronouncing it wrong my entire life. And actually, Sylvia Plahe is not only friends with John Dolan, but I also have a couple of other mutual friends that are really good friends with her too. So I don't think I've ever met her. Just to give you a little taste, because that's the kind of gal I am. Sylvia was born in Budapest. She lives in New York. She's had one-person shows at the Minneapolis Institute of Arts, the Whitney Museum, not a bad one, at Philip Morris in New York, the Queen's Museum, galleries in Homer, Ljubljana, Budapest, Paris, Rome, Berlin, Tokyo, New York, Manchester, Aries, Madrid, Perpignan, and Pinyao. Not a bad list. Formerly staff photographer for the Village Voice, and she's now contributing photographer at the New Yorker, which means I hate her. Because if I was looking to work for a publication today as a photographer, believe it or not, the New Yorker would be near or at the top of the list. It's odd that a literary magazine is one of the best sources left for photography and, in fact, reportage. It's like the Paris Review hiring Gilles Perez to do the photos in the magazine. And opening up the Paris Review, again, literary magazine, and seeing a 20-page spread from Gilles Perez, that's pretty cool. The New Yorker's out there. And oh, by the way, she's published 6 books. She's a superstar. And by the way, her son is Adrian Brody, the actor, who you might know. He's won a couple of things himself. So very intelligent for Dolan to get those 2 folks to write essays for this. That certainly, as a photographer, got my attention right off the bat, especially the essay from Sylvia Plahe, because I was like, wow, that's not someone I associate with the wedding world, and that's an interesting combination. That right there. I have not looked at a single image in the book at that point, but I see Sylvia Plahe's name, and I go, intriguing. That gets my attention. So Dolan is hitting me from not just saying, look at me, photography. He's also illustrating connection to who he has in the industry and partners in terms of who he's worked with and the circles that he's running in. All of this is like, what would I describe it? It's like a tracker. Take a Native American tracker who can track someone, a human being, across bare earth, right? That is a unique skill. The tracker is piecing together a story as he's going or she's going across the earth. That's what a book's doing as well. So I guess we should go to the top down. Oh, forgot. One last credit before credit is due, and that is the designer, who happens to be one Yolanda Cuomo, Cuomo. I've been fortunate enough to meet her, been fortunate enough to do a little interview of her, and have been fortunate enough to buy a bunch of books that she has designed. Not only do I love Yolanda Cuomo's design, but I think she's a very cool person. And at 53 years old, yes, I'm officially in the middle of my midlife crisis. I would say that more so than talent anymore, there's a lot of talented people. But at this point in my life, unless you're the kind of person that I want to be around, then I just don't want to be around you. Life's too short. I got too much to do. I want to buy a quadraphonic Blaupunkt and just help the team one game at a time. So let's do some top down, and I'll show you why I think this is a peculiar book that made me rethink my thoughts about wedding photography, and I think it might with you as well. Stay tuned. I got to get my tripod out of the car, and I thought, that sounds really boring, me getting a tripod out of the car. But then I thought, somebody out there is going to be like, man, I wish you would have shown that. I wish you would have shown. Want to see my office real quick? There it is, real quick. Okay, no, man, I can't show you that room. My wife's going to melt down. Okay, I'm through the Kenny Loggins danger zone. Now I'm going out to the van to get my tripod. I leave it in there because I hardly ever use it. Who wants to use a tripod? That's my van. Here's my tripod on the floor. I wedge it in here. Drive around like this, scare people. All right, let's go. We're going back in. By the way, this tripod's like 20 years old. It weighs about as much as the Titanic. All right, back in the danger zone. By the way, it smells like my lunch in here that I made. I'm back. You want to see a picture I love? Gerd Ludwig. Look at that. Gerd Ludwig, National Geographic photographer. That's a great pic, man. That's a people-based pic. That's the stuff that gets me going. People, it's gotta be people. It's not old buildings, not old cars. I can't do that stuff. All right, I gotta set this up. All right, friends and family, let's talk a little bit about this book. This is the top-down evening gown portion of the evening, and this is the book in question, which is The Perfect Imperfect, The Wedding Photographs of John Dolan. Now, the first thing I want you to notice when I opened this up, oh, looky here. Two things. Personalized note, Daniel, I hope you're enjoying the book. Thanks for looking. John Dolan on a embossed, that one debossed, I should say, note card. Very simple, very important. Love that touch, and I also love the blue end papers. Very nice. This is interesting. Sets a tone. Color is about mood. Color is going to set a mood through the tone. What's odd is that most of the book is black and white. He's starting with blue. Love that. Signed. Makes it even more valuable. Look at that. Now, look at the design. Looks simple, doesn't it? That's why it's good design. I love the typeface, by the way. I dream of typefaces like this, and then I can never seem to find them. I think Yolanda has all of them and keeps them to herself. Okay, now, let's talk photography. John knows what he's doing. He's been doing this a long time, but also not only is this book changing and challenging the perspective of wedding photography, but his photography is changing and challenging classic wedding photography. Just remember, I met with a client once who looked at my wedding portfolio and said, "That's not right." She said something along the lines of, "I didn't know weddings could look like that. Your work makes me nervous." Consequently, didn't work with her. But you know what I mean? People have so many preconceptions about weddings in general that it's nice to see somebody breaking the mold. And by the way, I am not one of these people that thinks you need 10,000 photographs at a wedding. I think you need about 10. And I'll show you a couple in here that I think sort of exactly personify what I'm talking about. Forward by Martha Stewart. There you go. Smart move. By the way, this paper is really nice. Heavy paper. Feels mostly uncoated. Again, very simple, nice type treatment. Strong, simple black and white images. By the way, the bride getting ready, by far my favorite portion of the day. Once this was over, the day for me sort of went downhill because this was by far the most intimate part of the day. And I guarantee by the look on her face, she probably does not have any memory of him making this picture because she is so in her head with probably mom here getting her ready. This is such a powerful, poignant moment that oftentimes you could be right there. And when they'd see the images a few days later, a few weeks later, they'd say, wow, I didn't have any memory of you actually being there. That's a sign of a good photographer and somebody who can sort of disappear. Nice moments. Nice backlighting. Film backlit just looks fantastic. Look, there's a guy smoking. Must be a photojournalist. Just kidding. Got the the ephemera of the wedding here. Generational. Love these behind the scenes things far more than anything in the ceremony. Okay, she's soft. She's not in focus. You geeks out there, it's okay. Just chill. Just relax. You don't need to be constantly in focus, not everything. It's about mood. And this picture still works. All right, we're going to skip forward here because I don't want to show you the entire book. That would not be very cool. The vast majority of this book is black and white, but prospective brides are going to see this book. And all you got to do is put a little bit of color in, which is what John's doing. And that answers every single question you have about color. Does he do color? What does it look like? Exact. Boom, done, over. Nice moments, loose framing, nothing, everything doesn't have to be super tight. Again, backlit, look at that lighting. Backlighting is your best friend when the light's not great. In this case, the light is pretty good. Very nice, soft and moody. Skip to the back here. These have a very Larry Fink quality to them. And if you don't know Larry Fink, look him up. It's your lucky day. You're getting to meet John Dolan and Sylvia Plahe and Martha Stewart and Larry Fink all in the same day. That doesn't happen very often, but look him up, and that's why I love these pictures, is they remind me of Fink. They're intimate. There's one in particular, and then this one. This photo here, this is my jaded, horrible opinion after photographing weddings, is if I'm her, and for something tragic happens and the rest of the work from the wedding is lost. This single photograph right here, to me, okay, maybe one from the ceremony too, just to appease the parents and grandparents and great-grandparents and the ghosts of the family before. This is enough, because that is pure, real, unbridled joy. And that's what this is about. And that's why wedding photographers do not get appreciated at the level they should, because this is not easy. Look at the lighting condition. Look at the lighting conditions that I've already showed you in the book so far. You've got direct sun outside. You've got dark, cavernous interiors with low ceilings, cavernous interiors with high ceilings. You've got mixed lighting. This lighting, by the way, is a nightmare. Digital cameras see this purple pink, and the sensor just goes, I quit, I give up, I don't want any part of this. And so color balance is really hard. Again, great moments. Here's there's an essay from John in the back. Nice, this is beautiful type treatment and design. Here you've got all your publishing data. Got your thanks, your list of people over here. Very well done. Again, a book that makes you rethink perception. I told you I didn't prepare for this film at all. This was a one-take wonder, and I am literally sweating. These top-down things, these book things are harder than they look. That's why I don't do as many as I should. I've got a stack of books. Wait. All those right here. Whoa, my arm has lost all those in the back. You see them. And all the ones in my office and all the ones over here. I've got all of these to do, and I'm never going to get to them all because I'm doing other stuff that's just really, really important in the grand scheme of humanity. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and sit down. I'm going to sit down. Just do a final recap here. Bear with me, people. This is my first time with an iPhone. First time film. I've never done this before. I appreciate it. I appreciate you tuning in. I know that I made some casual remarks during this film, but I meant what I said about wedding photographers deserving more credit than they get. And also the perception of what you're doing as a photographer, the perception of making a book like this. I can imagine how interesting it would have been to go to Damiani with a project like this, because again, I don't know of many wedding books, if any, that sort of have the same set of ingredients. And publishers are often not willing to roll the dice on something like that. Publishers, especially these days, are looking for more of a slam dunk publications that they know are going to sell X amount. And this book is beautiful. And also the other thing I really like about this, and this is a testament to John, and this is a testament to Yolanda, and that is simplicity. If the work is good, if the design is good, it does not have to look like a used car lot. It's simple, it's clean, it's powerful. You let the work do the talking, and then you let the copy fill in the blanks. So I appreciate you tuning in, and I will be back at some point in 2022 with another film.